I'm about to tell you a story about a 3-year journey and how I took a giant buck we call Little Splitter. So 3 years ago, we picked up a couple parcels of property. It's the first property that we've ever owned. And that's really where this whole thing started. After we acquired some land, we started putting out cameras to find out intel. How many bucks are on this property? How many bucks are using this property? And how big are the bucks that are around here using the property? So 2019 is the first time we ever captured or documented this buck we call Little Splitter. The unique thing about Little Splitter's rack is he's a basic 10-point frame, and then he has these splits coming out the G2s. And that's kind of a trait that we had been seeing around. Now, looking back to today, we've seen that trait throughout different bucks in that general area. So we closed on the property at the end of 2019, and so 2020's shed season for Little Splitter, we decided to walk around and look around for whatever sheds we could find, and lo and behold, we found Little Splitter's bed, and he had dropped both sheds side by side. Now the unique part about this was, because of this human pressure and the intelligence of the deer around there, he decided he was going to bed right on a knob overlooking the farmyard. It gave him the ability to see what was going on. Now, Little Splitter wasn't what we would call a core buck. So we started understanding some of the reasons why a buck like Little Splitter would disappear for a full season. And it kind of boils down to a few things. One is obviously habitat. The other is what's there for competition. In this particular case, we had higher age structured bucks, and I think that's what kind of moved him out of the area. Well, there was a buck on the property we called Blind 10, and he was a bully buck. And that's the reason why Little Splitter didn't really become a core buck. And there's a lot more detail about this story if you go to the Whitetails from Scratch category in the Deer Society, and it talks in more detail of how that all unfolded with Little Splitter and Blind 10. So fast forward to 2021. The long-term strategy is to be able to create an environment that multiple target bucks can coexist. And to do that, we made some simple changes like adding this additional piece of property, which the core of that, we put in what we call a transition zone. And we opened up a little food plot down in this, what we call Walnut Grove. And that transition area goes up into an area where there's food and water, which is more agriculture, in a place that we called IMAX. We took away barrier. We had a lot of fence line in there, pulled that out of there. Then we opened up an area, and it must have been phenomenal soil because we did fall greens and it just exploded. Now, the strategy for that is, once again, transition. Remove the barriers. There's water, a creek running through. So they come in, they're in the bottom, they got the water, they can freely move through the natural layout of the land, and then you give them this beautiful green browse. And so the behavior comes into where, all right, we're going out to the basic area where we all feed into the cornfields and stuff like that at night, but that transition and that mobility that we added created a behavior. So 2021 is shaping up to be a fantastic season. We made these great improvements to the property. Now we're documenting with our reveals these beautiful deer. We're seeing their behavior. We're seeing all these crazy things unfold right in front of us. But then the unexpected happened. We're prepping the area, strategically placing stands at the early fall, and an injury occurred. I was putting down a tree to block deer from coming in behind this particular stand, and overdid it and blew out my Achilles and my calf. It's a pretty debilitating injury, and I pretty much figured my season was over. You're talking 6 to 8 weeks minimum just to be able to start using something like that again. And so things kind of took a turn for the worst, and I had to kind of rethink my whole season. time progresses and I kind of re-strategize my whole season, I realize I'm healing up pretty good, and I'm probably going to be able to get out at least for late season. And so I'm thinking late season, snow, food source, that type of thing. Not sure exactly what my mobility would be. I decided to take on something that I had never done before, and that's shoot a crossbow. So we got together with our friends at 10 Point. So I get my hands on this 10 Point Havoc. I mean, talk about an efficient piece of equipment. It was unbelievable. I was having a great time and I couldn't wait to get out and hunt with it. So we're coming into late October, early November, the best part of the season. And Little Splitter has made this part of the property that we changed his core and his home. He's showing up consistently. He's becoming patternable. And it's getting exciting because I'm feeling pretty good. So now it's time. We got everything we need. I've been watching this deer. I've got the behavior figured out and what stand I think I'm going to have the best opportunity to take this deer from. And ironically, it's the stand we named Achilles. It's the place where I injured myself. So the way this season is unfolding, it's coming full circle. What the situation was is that I had a wind that was going to be perfect for that stand until the deer come out into the shooting spot. So I gave the deer the wind for the whole day, the whole transition, with the right wind coming out of the right direction. But when that deer came out into that opening during those daylight hours, that deer was going to walk directly downwind of me. So the deer start to move. I'm starting to see some action, some fawns, some does. They get out, they walk through my scent cone. They have absolutely no idea I am in this tree. And there was a bunch of crashing going on in the corner, and I looked down over in there and I was trying to see what was going on and this and that. And then I looked back where they were coming out, and here's this big body standing there. Oh my God, it's Little Splitter. First thing I do, started calming myself and went through the process that I'd been practicing throughout that evening. Got on him, released the bolt, and it was over.
Well, I got a shot at Little Splitter. I think I got a good shot on him. Might have been a hair low, but I think I got a good hit on him, so I'm gonna set it out. Wait it out and see what happens. He's the target since the skyscraper went down, and I think I put a good hit on him.
So I give it a little bit of time. I get down out of the stand. I work my way down. You could see the lighted knock on the bolt sticking straight up in the air. Walked right to the shot site and pulled up the bolt, looked it over. Thin coat of blood on the entire bolt. I looked around. I was looking for some good sign, hair, blood, that kind of thing, and I wasn't finding any. So I thought, you know what? It's getting a little dingy here. I'm just going to play it safe. This is a magnificent deer, and I'm going to come back and try and pick him up in the morning. Everyone's probably experienced, if they've ever let a deer sit overnight, there's anxiety. You're running everything through your head. All these things are going on. You can't sleep. You want to get up early. Well, what if this happened? What if that happened? All those different types of things. I mean, in my mind, everything tells me I smoked this deer. So I get up in the morning. We head out there. There he was, not very far from where I shot him. It was just the coolest experience. The buck becomes more than just hunting a buck. You become tied to this animal. There's something between you. And to see him change throughout the years the way he did and come into his own this year and become this core buck, it adds that much more to the hunt. And between his behavior, between his swagger, the way he walked, all the different things that we were able to just, compile and absorb and analyze. That's really what made this hunt so special. So the keys to this hunt were a number of things. One is give them the proper habitat, not just for food purposes and health, but also for behavior. Having those green fields, those transition zones, give them what they need to behave naturally in their environment and take over that area with confidence. And another key would be to not put that excessive human pressure in there. Don't hunt it hard. Rely on your intel. Rely on your ability to understand what the deer's thinking and how they're behaving. And finally, the tactical part of it, the actual harvest. You need to be able to be undetected, and that's where phase comes in. You have to make sure that the deer cannot detect the human. And then the final piece is be confident with your equipment and use great equipment so that you can make a very efficient harvest.